we should support Israel because Israel's pretty much for peace. That particular area, piece of land, is one of the most strategic pieces of land in the world. Sometimes we can get real critical and we call it discernment, whereas in other countries I've seen wild miracles take place because they don't get to just go down to the hospital and get it fixed. Because once you're healed and whole, then what gives you attention? We're back. Part two, not part two, or number two of If I Had More Time, Q&A.
We did one of these a little over a month ago.
Yeah.
You guys sent in some great questions.
Yes.
We asked again, and you guys sent in actually more questions than we really honestly had time to answer.
Yeah.
So, dare I say, look out for volume 3 at some point in time.
Probably, yeah. Of course.
But yeah, we got some great questions.
Okay.
And yeah, with this weekend being what it was, I feel like a great weekend to kind of dive into some Q&A.
Yeah, dude.
If you're, I do want to point out, if you're watching online, YouTube wise, you'll notice that behind me, we're slowly
adding stuff. We got to dust that.
I'm gonna shout out, and this is actually not a shout. This is kind of a correction.
Call out.
Yeah,
It's not a shout out. It's a call out.
but to our amazing, I won't say intern, but someone on our team, Josie, whose job is to finish this thing. It's waiting on you.
It's
So
waiting.
If you're looking at it and going,
It's gonna wait on you.
that's right, dude. If you're looking at it and you're like, man, I need some help. That's right. Josie's working on
It does.
But we actually have some cool stuff on there. Our little set's going to continue to grow.
It's gonna continue to grow.
We're excited for it.
More content.
If you're listening on the podcast, we have a lot of podcast listeners, dude. It's gonna want how many people are listening on podcasts.
Yeah, dude.
But maybe you can pop on over to the video. Actually, on Spotify, it is a video podcast. So if you're watching,
You can watch Spotify video.
them. Yeah.
Oh, crazy, dude.
Spotify podcast is actually
Spotify's coming up, dude.
it's doing its own little thing. So
Is podcast like the iTunes podcasts? Are those still cranking, or is Spotify
you want
replaced
to
it?
hear a weird little like just data?
Yeah,
like nerdy thing?
I love nerdy
It is really
analytics.
popular for people who are like 35 and older.
because that's what we cut our teeth on.
And like for like 30 and under, no one uses Apple Podcasts.
Interesting.
It's like if you're a young person, Gen Z and Alpha, you are a Spotify. If you listen to podcasts, you're a Spotify user.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I'm pretty much just YouTube. I don't do
Same.
iTunes. I don't do Spotify. I have the YouTube Premium, so I can just turn my blank screen but still listen.
Totally.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, my wife only uses the Apple Podcast one. And I'm
Really?
always like, where's the video of us? And she's like,
Dang, dude.
But she has like
Yeah.
dozens of podcasts she listens to in a week. So it's kind of the way she consumes podcasts. But seems to be an age divide there on what platform people use.
Probably. I wonder too if they really dove into that and they found out what artists they listened to in their 20s. For instance, like Britney Spears. Your wife really liked Britney Spears.
She is a big Britney Spears fan. That was a deep cut. I was like, wow, man.
Oh man, that was funny.
Yep.
Okay.
She is one.
Oh boy. All right, questions.
Yeah, we have some questions here.
Yeah.
So let's dive in. We have a few like lengthy kind of.
Also, shout out to Dylan Jones for killing it this weekend preaching.
Yeah, dude.
How
cool is that?
I love that guy. I'm really excited for their church. If you know anyone in Redondo Beach or South Bay area of LA, tell them to check out Numa Church. It hasn't planted yet. It hasn't started yet, but they're doing a launch parties and all the socials and all that stuff right now.
How crazy must it be? You're planning all different stuff and then just kind of popping into a church, doesn't know you.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't know you.
Right.
Giving a message.
Yeah.
I've
done it. I did it.
For sure.
I did it. Yeah. That was weird.
Church just rocking and rolling and he crushed it. 4 services.
Yeah, I did.
Man.
It's great.
Sweet Sunday. All right, let's hop into one here. Okay, let's do this. Pastor Jeff has been mentioning Israel lately in his messages.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear his thoughts on if and why Christians should support Israel. Is it actually biblical to support Israel? Even if theoretically their government is corrupt, should that change anything for Christians?
Okay. Wow. Here we go. This is a complicated question.
It is.
We could actually spend the whole time on this.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and somebody actually hit me up too I think they DM me or something and were like, hey, I would love to know your thoughts on Israel. Because I mentioned something, one of the things. Also, if you guys ever DM me and I don't respond, it's because I get a lot of DMs and I'm sorry. I actually got to put one of those things like
Auto response.
An auto response.
We'll get you hooked up with one.
So, okay. Well, we are talking about Israel because we're also talking right now about Joshua.
That's
and
right.
they go in to take the land of Israel, possess, because the Lord's giving it to them. So receive the land in essence. Okay, so Israel's nuanced in the sense that it's like multifaceted. When you're talking about Israel, like you have to be like, well, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the land
Right.
of Israel? Are you talking about the nation of Israel? Are you talking about the people, like the ethnic people,
Right.
the
Jewish
Israelites?
people.
You know, and so what as Christians do we support? What do we not? All of that. So I'm just going to riff for a little bit. We
Sure.
can go down this road and kind of see where it takes us, and hopefully I answer the question somewhere in there. But okay, so the actual land itself is wild, right? Because it's, I mean, wait, here, let me do a brief overview. Okay, so like with the land of Israel, it's that land ultimately given by God to the Israelite people.
Totally.
And the history there is crazy. Ultimately, after World War II, the Jews needed like places to go back to, and so they gave them that land, and that's where a lot of the conflict with Palestinians and all this, the Philistines really goes back thousands of years.
Yeah.
But now there's a lot of tension there because basically they inhabited the land. Now it's kind of like a new country of an old country.
Right.
And then you have the people of Israel who are ethnic, but not all of them are are Hebrews.
Right.
In the sense of religion, right? So they're Israelites ethnically, but not religiously.
Totally.
So then you have the Israelites that are religious, like that are Jews, that are the practicing Jews. They practice their faith. They're still awaiting a Messiah because I don't think Jesus is, and so you have that portion as well, and then what you would have as, like, I guess you could say the nation and the government today of the Israelite people, which they're saying is corrupt, and all governments are corrupt.
Sure.
You know, like, so as far as, we're not necessarily saying support the government. But, okay, now going back to the land. So we talked about this table of nations, taught on it a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a few weeks ago now, but ultimately settled by Canaan, who it wasn't given to him, but he settled it. Lord promises to Abraham and his descendants, then gives it to them. That particular area, a piece of land, is one of the most strategic pieces of land in the world.
Yeah.
It connects Africa to Europe. It's fertile and rich and multifaceted in what it produces. It's good for raising, like, herding animals to, it's all good. Herding animals to crops, everything. Like it's wild, like it is. And so it connects. Yeah, not only that, but it also connects to the the East.
Right.
So it's this major trade routes were there. So it was like a very strategic plot of land that was sought after and fought over, I should say, for centuries and thousands of years. And again, still is to this day. You have in Jerusalem, you have a convergence of three major religions that have like a religious / emotional connection there.
To the land,
You have the Jews, because again, Jerusalem, it's like their spot, right? That's where the temple was. They believed that God dwelt there. That's where Abraham went up to sacrifice Isaac, and there's the ram in the thicket. You have now Christians, because that's where Jesus was from and was crucified. And then you have the Muslims who believe that Muhammad, I think was born there or ascended to heaven there, something like that. I should know that better. But you have, and even in the old city, you have these different quarters of that, which is crazy. So the land itself is very
contentious. Yeah.
And but there is something special about that place. And I don't know if it's just because when you go there, you're just mesmerized by the history and because there is that connection to our faith there. So supporting the land in itself, it's not necessarily like you're supporting the land. The land's just special.
Right.
When it comes to the people of Israel, I'll start right now, like in this cultural moment, because I think this is really what they're speaking to, but we can go down another path as well. So in this cultural moment, should we support Israel from the standpoint of their government, this war that they've been in and all of that? And again, there's lots of layers here. But what I will say, though, is that I believe the media has shaped, and if you feel like I'm like not being clear enough on anything, because these are particular things where people can listen and get like really mad or, drop comments and all that stuff. The media, especially here in the West, shaped it very poorly and painted a picture of Israel in a very bad light.
Sure.
So what they're forgetting is that Palestine, actually Hamas, who runs Palestine,
right?
They're the ones that invaded.
Right.
They're the ones that invaded and murdered,
kidnapped,
raped the whole thing.
Right.
And when you do it percentage wise, like we got, like the Twin Towers, the Trade Center.
Sure.
When that got, when the planes went out, we went over and we fought them,
right.
But that was actually
unilateral agreement from, obviously it was a different political time back then.
Yeah, it was for sure.
But people were in agreement, both sides.
Exactly.
That was justified response.
Justified response. So now you think about this. So the amount of in percentage wise, that wasn't even close to what they lost. Doesn't make what we lost compared to what they lost.
Right. I think a context here, just maybe to add to this.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how small of a nation Israel is.
Israel's tiny.
It is. Having gone there, we went together one time. It's like mind blowing, even because we live in California, like how big our state is.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is a very small nation.
I think it's like Rhode Island and Maine put together. It's tiny. Yeah.
And so having a terrorist attack of that scale,
for
us, when we go, I forget the numbers, but a few hundred people. No. Like to them, that is. I've heard a lot of people talk about. Everyone knows a cousin, an uncle, a brother, somebody was affected by what happened on October 7th.
Exactly.
Years ago now. And so, but it's again, it's just because of how small that nation is, and I don't think we here in the West realize that context.
Yeah. So think about this. So it's so small. Their Air Force, when they fly east to west, can get across the country in 6 seconds.
Yeah, it's like, and when we were there, I remember you would see it happen. You're like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, I remember our tour guide saying, they're flying patterns around the entire country, and you're like, oh wow.
Yeah.
And you could see it when we were up on those mountaintops. You could see it happen.
Yep. And so what the media did is they forgot about that attack, which you can get back to in just a second, and then they focused on Israel bombing stuff in Palestine. They got hospitals. They did stuff like hit schools or something. Now here's the stuff that they don't talk about. Well, one is, again, Israel didn't start it. Two, before Israel bombed anywhere, they dropped pamphlets saying, we're going to light this place up, so you should leave.
Right.
Like giving them time to get out. And not, again, that justifies anything, but at the same time, it's like, give us back our hostages and this is over.
Right. I think it speaks to intent.
It speaks to intent. And people don't realize this, but Israel in general is all about peace. So they are surrounded on every border. When I went on that geopolitical tour, on every border by people that hate them and want to kill them,
and have stated so.
Yeah,
it's not like it's not like some secret where this isn't some conspiracy theory of these people want to kill Israel. Like no, these people openly on media, literally we want to wipe them off the face of the planet.
Or on the other side of a fence will yell, "We're going to kill you all." Like that's what they go. So they actually get bombed regularly.
Right.
They have their Iron Dome, which is this amazing technology. Why do you have to have an Iron Dome? If not, you're getting bombed all the time, right?
Totally.
So you have and they allow the Palestinians to occupy a particular area inside so it's not just like the border on Gaza Strip. It's actually, they own Bethlehem.
Right.
They have Bethlehem. The wall there that they put up in Bethlehem is actually designed to be taken apart incredibly easy, like if there ever was a true peace. So it's not like this wild thing, like it's put together in compartments. The reason why they put that wall up is because for years, the Palestinians there and the terrorist groups were bombing Jerusalem, like terrorist bombs, strap in suicide, the whole thing, right? Suicide bombers. And doing it on buses with kids. And so they weren't like, hey, we're going to round all these people up and stick them in here and they have to stay there.
Right.
It was like, we can't have our kids getting murdered all the time. We ran through a fake simulation. These are all Americans, we're all there. And they go, okay, this has just happened. They, named, like, it was like a fake thing, but it was like Syria just bombed thing and it blew up an office building and, this many fatalities and injuries. What do we do? And us Americans were like, we go to war.
Right,
and they go, no. They go, because if we go to war, we all go to war. Like, we know somebody that in our town, because we're like in Oceanside's, military heavy.
Right.
Some of us know people that have gone to war.
Sure.
Or have lost somebody or something. But usually it's like a once removed type thing. Like, I know somebody that knows somebody that died in a war or whatnot. For them, it's like, no, I had an uncle that's gone.
Right.
Or, my brother-in-law, like, because it's all, like he's talking about, it's a small country. It's all interconnected. Right. So again, they're not quick to rush to war. But an attack like that, an invasion like that, when they've actually, way back in, it was like what year was it? The early 2000s. It was some war that they had to fight with Egypt. They actually gained a lot of Egypt, but they gave it back to them. This is how much for peace they are.
Right.
They allow Muslims to occupy the top of the temple with the Dome of the Rock.
Right.
Just to keep peace.
Yeah.
So the whole narrative of these Israelites, or the nation of Israel, is over there like killing kids and wild. And so what took place here in our nation is that there's like, people have bleeding hearts for people who they think are the underdogs, or people who they think are the oppressed, etc. Right? So all of a sudden, there's all this pro-Palestine stuff going on. Palestinians hate Americans. They hate us.
Very true.
We give them money. They hate us.
Right.
With the whole LGBTQI thing, when they were like pro-LGBTQI for Palestine, they would throw you off a building in a heartbeat.
Right.
They would slit your throat and chop off your head in the middle of, like, they don't care. Like,
right.
So, but the way the media spun things, it just made it sound like, man, here's Israel bombing hospitals and killing, like, all that different stuff. But you know what also too is that Hamas is like loading these people into these hospitals and these schools.
For sure. Like
sacrificing their own people. When there was a ceasefire, they went through their streets, and anyone they thought was an Israel sympathizer, they killed them. So in that thing, I go, yeah, as a nation and as just people in general, we should support Israel, because Israel's pretty much for peace. We have good relations between those nations, and we don't want that particular plot of land owned by terrorists.
For sure.
Like, you don't.
Totally.
Just as far as for, like, just it being a strategic piece of land.
Yeah.
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when it comes to us as Christians, should we support Israel from, like, a biblical standpoint? This goes to like, people. So there's a few different ways that people think about this biblically, right? Some people would say, so we, as Christians, we're the new Israel. So we're now the Israelites. So the old Israelites aren't Israelites,
Sure.
which I don't think you can make a strong case for that in the Bible. We are, as it talks about in Romans, right? We are engrafted in,
Totally.
right? So we are, as we're not the new Israel, we're not the old Israel as well, but we're adopted into God's people. So I just say we're God's people.
Right.
Israelites are not, right? We're God's people. Ephesians talk about once we were not. Peter says once we're not a people, but now we are a people. Ephesians says, and then Peter also says we're God's chosen possession, is royal priesthood, all that. A people belonging to God. Ephesians says that we were far from God, now we're near to Him. We're citizens of heaven, all that stuff, right? So now we have a citizenship and an identity because we've been adopted into that family, so to speak. But as far as Israel, like the Jews, are they saved just because they're Jews? That's when I go, no, because the Bible's quite clear. You have to believe in Jesus. Now, there's some stuff that you go, well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But then that's how you get into, well, who is Jewish then? Is it just out of ethnicity, or is it because you're practicing your faith as a Jew?
Right.
And all of that. So from the standpoint of, as Christians, do we support the people of Israel? I would say in a way, yes, because part of our mandate, which we've been miserable and terrible at, is we are to, as Romans says, as Paul writes to the Roman church, evoke a jealousy within them because of our relationship with the Lord. And we've failed to do that. We've actually been very terrible to the Jewish people over the years. So the whole plan, in essence, what Paul is laying out is that, like, we as Christians, as the church, should cause the Jews to look at us and envy what we have, our devoutness, so they would go, wow, yeah, Jesus was the Messiah.
Yeah.
But instead, I mean, this goes back this is the whole history lesson.
Right.
Instead we didn't. We kind of put our nose up at him. A lot of the Holocaust was kind of in the name of Christianity. Some of it, So, yeah, I mean that's a really complicated.
It is.
It goes deep in a lot of areas.
There's a lot of historical context that I think needs to be understood. That I think, by and large, I think a lot of Americans probably don't understand about that region, about the history, about the conflicts, ongoing conflicts that are going on.
Yeah.
So I think there's that element of that. I think for me, like, I think to your point about the media and where we're at and today is that we've made things so polarizing, and by polarizing I mean like it's one or the other. So you're either all in and
you're all in or all out.
Love Israel, so you hate you hate babies and Palestinians getting murdered, or you're pro-Palestine, so that means you hate Israel. And so I think that we've gone to such weird extremes that I don't think is really it's not realistic, and I don't think it's really helpful for like everyday conversations with people.
Right.
I think there is a space for you to land where it goes, I support the people and the nation and the government of Israel. But if something happens that you're like, hey, this happened and I'm not okay with loss of life and tragedies. Like there was a lot of videos on Instagram or on social media, and you'd see parents with their kid, and like that's sad.
Yeah,
like,
that should break your heart. It should break your heart.
And so yes, I think there is a spot for you to hold in two hands. Hey, this is happening, and I'm not in agreement, or I'm not I wish this wouldn't happen. I'm not like okay with wiping a whole nation of people off of the face of the planet. Like that's not what I'm in favor for.
No.
But I also can be in favor of a people, defending themselves. And I think, again, if you look at the wealth of like data and just like facts, is a country trying to do its best in a very complicated situation.
Yep. And
do they have moments where, a missile hits where it's not intended to hit, or, yes, that happens. And I think that's like, and not to make it sound laissez-faire, but like, I think that's the sadness of war.
Yeah.
Is
casualties of war.
Is that sometimes people, innocent people, or you know, not fighters, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
People lose their life in a conflict, and that's sad. And we can mourn that and go, we're not for that. We're not
Right.
celebrating that. That's
Right.
not
Not
what
at
we're
all.
about.
Yeah.
But also this kind of like unrealistic kind of mindset of like, well, they should just kind of let it happen, or just like, you know, it's like, well, no, like, these people are,
Bro.
again, we've seen that they were attacked.
Yeah.
They were, you know, treated, you know, these people were treated in a way, and they have a right to defend themselves. And again, that does get messy. And I think that like we've made everything so, I think there is a black and white in what's right and wrong.
Sure.
But I think we've made every conflict, every issue a black and white thing. Like, well,
Right.
if you support this, it means you're in support of murdering kids and you know, women and children. It's like, no, we're not.
No.
Like that's not what, as a Christian, you know, I have not heard a pastor celebrate that like that's happening.
No.
That's not what we're for. But also, again, if you're someone who goes, man, I am in support of Israel, then defending themselves, you know, you can, you know, and celebrate's maybe the wrong word, but you know, just be vocal about, hey, I think that they have a right to do this.
They do have a right.
And also, I think there's also a point too of like, there's a justice piece of this where I do think that people, I don't know, we've got a weird skewed view of justice right now. But there is an element of what's the Israelite people doing to Hamas, the terrorist organization. They're exacting a justice that is fair, because what a lot of Hamas and, you know, what they stand for and what they've done is evil things.
Yeah.
And so
massively oppressive to people.
Massively oppressive, even like to their own people. Not even like to Israel, but like to
their
own
people,
people, to women and children in there that they are claiming to protect. And so there's an element, I think, especially for the Jewish people, of justice. Yeah. Of like, there's defending ourselves, and then there's also like this, we've had enough. And
well, I again, it just goes back to give us our people back and it's done. And then they wouldn't. Right. And if from our standpoint, somebody comes in and takes your daughter. Right. How civil are you? Are you going to be like, you know what? Let's just let those people alone. Let's quit bombing them. You're like, go get my kid back. Right. You know, like it would be ridiculous to think otherwise. Totally. If somebody came and took your dad, or, you know, like, think of someone you love the most and you know that they're being tortured, and you're going to be like, our nation shouldn't do anything about it. Right. Let's just let them have it. Like, if Mexico came in and just took a bunch of our family members or loved ones or your wife or whatever it would you be like, hey guys, we're not going to bomb Mexico. Right. It's just her lot now. You're like, no, you would be all about it. So I don't know. And then, but also too, it all plays into, like you said, the day and age that we're in. It's all very polarizing, and it's and everyone's looking for a cause to hop on board with, and so that they can hate one or love another, or riot or protest or whatever the case may be. It's just, we're living in such a hotbed of like, something's just waiting to pop off at any moment anyways. I wish, this is a little bit sidebar, but I think kind of for me buttons this point, it speaks to this. I wish we had more people that were willing to, whatever team or side you play for. I wish there would be more people who were willing to go, I fly this flag, or I'm on this team or whatever, but I'm not okay with this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be like, man, I'm in lockstep with every single thing that sometimes it's like, you know, again, I vote this way, or I think this way, or whatever. And then but what these actions, or what these people did, or what these people said, I'm not actually okay with that. Yeah. And that doesn't make you a traitor, or, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or other stuff. Or like, hey, like, it's okay to, again, vote a certain way, but on a certain topic or issue, not be alignment. Like, I just, there's such a like, just it's like down the line, you have to be, you know, all in on everything. And it's like, hey, you can, you know, again, for either side, you could be a Republican and go, man, again, I'm really frustrated with maybe how this issue played out and whatever. Or you could be Democrat and go, look, this is how we normally vote, but in this issue, I'm actually not in agreement with the majority of you know, how my party thinks. So I think if we were okay to like
to have that dialogue.
Mhm.
I think topics like this would be, I don't want to say easier, but would be more conversational to have, because
Great.
again, everything has been boiled down to either you hate Israel or you are
Yeah.
you hate women and children of Palestine.
Right,
And it's
exactly.
like, no,
No.
that's
Yeah.
not. I
No.
don't think that's how most people actually operate. And for, I think, like you said, the media, but even some other things, social media, but the media, social media, and then I think some very specific agitators have framed it in such of
Yeah.
a way where it's you're either for or against this. You're either evil,
Right.
or you're for good. You're on the right side of history.
And I forget that's actually, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't, but it's like it's called something when you do that, when you just make their two side thing. Well, it'll come back to me. But no, yeah, it's crazy. I was gonna say something. Who's actually who's been doing that, being more vocal lately is Bill Maher. And Bill Maher, yeah. And he's like because he's a liberal, when he's like flies liberal flag completely, like Democratic, like all like Democrat, a whole thing, but is coming back to like, man, we've gone off the deep end on a lot of this stuff.
Yes, common sense.
This is just wild.
Right.
And then he's actually the one who said too, like, we're not even saying anything about all the Christians that are being like murdered right now over in Africa.
Places,
yeah. And so, yeah, dude, crazy.
Yeah.
But that's what I'd say. Should Christians support Israel? I mean, yeah. I think we should, from the standpoint of, one, politically for the nation, just safety wise, but also two, from the people of, just biblically, that we are to evoke them to envy.
Yeah.
So
it's good.
Yeah.
All right, this one should be a fun one here.
Okay.
On the first episode of If I Had More Time of the Joshua series.
Oh yeah.
You go over Leviticus 18 and how the Israelites should not go be like the people.
Oh yeah.
Canaanites,
yeah.
Does verse 19 still apply to us today with Jesus fulfilling the law? And for reference, verse 19 is, do not approach a woman to have sexual relations during the uncleanness of her monthly period. So during her period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot have sex during that week and then the week after. Moving on. No, I'm just kidding. Right now, there's like people are like, I'm leaving that church. Okay, so yeah. So in that chapter, it goes over all the different like sexual immorality things, right? Mm-hmm. And then it says, don't have sex with a woman on her, like while she's on her menstrual cycle. They actually had a whole thing. It's about a ceremonial cleanliness. And there are certain parts of the law, again, Jesus fulfilled the law, right? But there are certain parts of the law, the moral law, et cetera, that are good. And there are, like, in that chapter, just because that is clumped in with the other stuff doesn't mean that we can't have sex while our wives are menstruating, and vice versa. Like, when our wives are menstruating, they can still have sex with us. This is weird. Okay, anyways. Sorry.
This is one way.
This is really awkward. Just one way. Just like, oh gosh. Dear Lord, please forgive me, listeners, viewers. So you have like the things that are general morality thing of like, don't sleep with your mom. Right. So there's a couple of things that go into that, right? Is that how like those particular nations, how they were so corrupt and how they were so like evil in a lot of ways and did evil in the sight. Like they did sacrifice their children. All of those things. And they were okay with all that sexuality. We went into that on If I Had More Time, how they, how does somebody get there? Right. With the, but then you clump in that of, the woman on her menstrual cycle. So a lot of these things you go back to is that some of those things were set up. So one, you have the generalities. Don't have sex with a family member, because also you get inbred. And there are actually, it's crazy. There were so many pharaohs of Egypt that were radically inbred that some couldn't feed themselves. They were like so out there. Yeah. And with mental disabilities because of all the inbreeding that took place. Right. So one, it's like don't wreck our nation by inbreeding with each other. When it comes to like, again, the menstrual cycle, it's also at that time too, is that blood, you had to be careful with blood.
Mm-hmm.
Like we know today, blood is what carries diseases. Blood is what does all those things, right? And also, we didn't shower regularly.
Right.
There wasn't like just
Hygiene. Right.
So that was part of it too, of the way the Lord set up, like don't eat certain foods. All of that is because they didn't prepare those foods correctly, so on and so forth. It also says, like don't get tattoos. But the reason why I don't get tattoos is because that's how the other nations worship their God. And we, like, as God's people, we're not supposed to be like, we weren't supposed to be all tatted up so that we looked like the other nations, right? We were supposed to be set apart. Now you can tattoo yourself up and all that stuff. So this wasn't a forbidding, necessarily based on any kind of like pagan worship type stuff. It was like, hey, we're covering all these sexual topics. Let's cover this one too. There's a cleanliness issue.
Right.
So now with hygiene, with like greater understanding of what's actually taking place. I think it's okay that there wouldn't be necessarily any other biblical precedent that would say don't now for that. And because Paul doesn't even address it in Corinthians when he goes into 1 Corinthians 7. The only time he talks about it is like if you're fasting from sex for the sake of drawing near to the Lord.
Right.
He goes, kind of doesn't even recommend it.
Yeah. Totally. It just seems like it kind of an overall, this is like one specific topic, but overall it's kind of a question about, the Lord fulfilling the law and what are we still bound to and what are we not? Which I think does plague, for a lot of people, I think it can be, I grew up in a household where it wasn't okay to get a tattoo. It was sinful.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because it was,
and some people still really,
and there's certain verses that there's certain levels of extreme, and there are some people who are like, we don't eat certain fish, shellfish or whatever the case might be, and then we know a lot of Jewish people, people who will still practice a lot of those and won't eat pork and won't do a lot of the things. So to me, this is more of a question about just understanding the law and understanding Jesus' fulfillment of the law and how that applies to us today as, hey, we're all Gentile. Most of us are actual Gentiles, but us as Gentiles, and what are we held to and what are we not?
Yeah. And it's also like, okay, it plays into interpretation. How do you interpret this verse? And because the other danger is then you go, well, I mean, if you make that okay, then is it okay to sleep with my stepmom or all that? And you're like, no, that's infidelity. That's all the weird stuff that goes into that, right? Yeah. So on that one, you can, and on the others kind of isolate, like, well, it's not a moral thing. It's not a moral issue. It was more a ceremonial issue. And we don't hold to all the ceremonial laws either.
Right.
Because again, that's been
fulfilled. There's ones about your clothes and how to thread. You know what I mean? So there's a level of it that's like, you can't. I mean, right. Yeah. Part of the purpose of the law is to show that you can't. But we don't. Even for most of us today, we don't.
No.
And so I think there is a conversation about people's not preferences. What's the word I'm looking for? Convictions. Yeah. And there are certain things that maybe, again, like for my parents, a tattoo, they have a conviction about that.
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Totally get it. Cool. Right. I think where it does get out of line is when we start drawing those convictions for everybody else and start saying, well, where there are these laws that, again, they're not tied to again, worshiping idols or doing something immoral. We start saying, well, if you get a tattoo, you're also sinning. I think that's where things. I think a lot of people have grown up in church contexts where we do have convictions, or maybe it's a denominational thing or whatever the case might be, cultural thing, and then we started to go, it's not okay for the whole to do these things or not do these things, and it's sinful, and and so I think I would imagine there's probably a lot of people who have experience with that.
Right.
And that can be really tricky to go, wait, so is this a sin? Is it not a sin?
Yeah.
Do we have freedom for this? Do we, are we not? Yeah, again, there are some verses in here where it's like, wait, so you're telling me that's okay? That doesn't make sense, So I think this is it's a very layered issue as well too.
Yeah.
I think it kind of comes back to our understanding of just like the law and its purpose and how we as people interpret or interface the law today.
Yeah.
And it does get tricky, especially I've been in church my whole life.
Right.
Sometimes I'm always like, let's research this. Right. If you're new to your faith, sometimes this stuff can be like, what?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like the 10 commandments, like the big 10, right? Do not murder. So again, that would be don't sacrifice your children. Do not covet your neighbor's wife.
Right.
That's, don't go have sex with anybody, like it's your wife and your wife alone. So it's this, like the ceremonial law, the civil law, and the moral law. The moral law is pretty upheld. And there's ceremonial laws that have kind of like, they're not necessary, so to speak. Some of them. And then there's like the civil law, and that changes from what nation to nation that you're part of. But that wasn't it wasn't a civil law. That was more of a ceremonial law, because then you'd have to ceremonially cleanse yourself and all that stuff, and then you'd be able to have relations. But yeah, so for those that were wondering, I think he said that his wife wanted to know, so that's why he asked the question.
That's right. It wasn't out of the blue.
No, it wasn't out of the blue. There's some discussions about that. Okay, next question. Let's move. Moving on.
Let's move. Let's keep it moving. Staying in the kind of topic of marital questions. This person asked, how can I let my husband lead when he's newer to the faith and I'm not?
It's a great question.
It's a great question. It's a great question.
It is a great question. I think, how can you let your husband lead? Well, praise the Lord that he's new to the faith.
That's right.
That he has given his life to Jesus. I think that he's given his life I think that's awesome. Leading from the standpoint of, each household kind of looks different within this. I don't think there's a blanket like he makes all the decisions, does everything, and you just follow, blindly. But I think I think a better question might even be, how can I support him in his new faith? And I think the support comes into encouragement. I'm a firm believer that, if you see a solid man, there's usually a real solid woman that's with him, that's helping him.
Yeah.
I think you can respect a man into being respectable.
That's good.
I think that most men have a few core desires: to be loved and wanted and respected.
Totally.
More to be respected but desired. Like, if you will respect me and desire me, I feel loved.
For sure. For sure.
So I think part of that is respecting him and desiring him. I think the other part goes into encourage, like when you do see those things that are of godly character, call them out and encourage him in it.
That's really good.
If you tell a guy that he's not good at something long enough, he just stops doing it. I've talked to a lot of like moms that are frustrated with their husbands because they're not dadding their babies. And my question is a lot of times like, well, were you telling him he's changing the diaper wrong?
Yeah.
Were you telling him that he was holding the baby wrong? Were you like, just give me the baby? Does it make sense?
For sure.
Like, again, after a while, it's kind of a bummer that starts to happen. But that's how a lot of marriages start to suffer, as a guy just gets done. Not that, again, it's all the woman's fault. I'm not saying that. It kind of makes it sound like I'm saying that. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Because husbands, we need to be respectable, and we need to have character and to win our wives over with that at the same time. So it does not give us any excuse to not be strong spiritual heads of our household. But for this particular issue, encourage him. If it's a non-essential issue, like, I think it's great to have conversations, But if you're coming to the conversation from the standpoint of, well, I've been a Christian longer, I know better, so this is what we should do, as opposed to let's have an open conversation about this, and see where we land.
Yeah.
Within that. But again, I don't know all the different things and how you want him to lead or all of that. But I think just encouraging him to continue to grow in his faith, and he'll continue to grow in his leadership, respect him, and a lot of men end up being respectable. Yeah. So I would say that, and it sounds like, what a great heart too. What a great question of how can I let him lead, or how do I have him lead when I've been in the faith longer? I think that's a really noble question. And it's going to look different for all things, but I just go back to, encourage him in his faith. Yeah. And don't be all the things that Proverbs talks about, like being a nagging wife and all those, like all of that can be a bummer. I think encouraging him, getting him around other godly men, other godly couples is massive too. What's your circle? That really helps. And I've seen it, man. I've seen guys get saved and radically transform over the next few years, and then all of a sudden they're incredible husbands, fathers. It's awesome.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was going to end with kind of where you just ended there, or start with where you just ended. But I think maybe a practical thing, and maybe this is already happening. A great practical tool though is encouraging him to be around other men who are great leaders in their home. Because I think that there is
encouraging him in a way that isn't comparing him.
For sure. Because
a guy can be like, oh, why do you want me to be like him?
For sure. For sure. But I think that there's certain things I think men can only learn from men, if that makes sense. Like not to say that, maybe as a wife you're not great and have spiritual authority, all that different stuff, but I do think that there is a leadership and a headship that is just exemplified by men. And maybe, again, if he's newer to the faith and he's not maybe seen that growing up, I think seeing examples of it is really good, up close and personal. And then it probably accelerates learning. Yeah. Versus just trying to stumble through it all on your own and or just try and take cues from your wife. So I think it's a practical thing. Again, do it in a way, again, it's not undermining or comparing, but I think that's a really just practical step of like, and maybe it's not even just you send him away, but it's like a couples. It's like, oh, hey, we're gonna hang out with some other couples and again see that dynamic at play, whether it's double dates or kid hangouts, all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah, two more things, and then we can finish this one off. One I'd say is have tons of grace. That's good, because we as men, that if we haven't been raised in a godly culture or in a godly household, what we've been raised by is a media that makes fun of dads, that berates husbands. Woman always knows better, like all that different stuff within our culture. And so there's a tendency for a lot of men just to kind of step back and be like, well, whatever, because that's what they've been told their whole lives. So have grace if it's in those moments, and look at your marriage and say, are there particular areas where I do tend to lead more, and how can I relinquish some of that leadership? How can I say, I usually make the decisions here, but I'm actually going to ask him now. I'm going to ask him, what do you think? I'm going to ask him, what should we do? As opposed to, just always kind of taking the reins in those things. That's good. That's it. That's good. All right. Let's see. We got one more? Time for one more. Okay. Yeah, we've got a lot. So, again, one or two more. Here we go. Depends on how fast we can answer it. Let's see. Okay, this is a long one. Okay. But let's do this one. I know we said we hi, Pastors Jeff and George. In your podcast on covering versus influence, you spoke about spiritual oversight. I've been disciplined. Or I've been discipled. Sorry, discipled. I've been disciplined. Discipled by someone outside of a traditional church setting. Though we meet at a local church, though we met at a local church, someone is gifted, theologically trained, experienced in ministry, chaplaincy. Yeah, chaplain, yeah. Chaplain. Sincere and doing real great kingdom work. There is real fruit. Over time, I've gently discerned some concerns, especially a hesitancy on their part towards spiritual oversight for a period of time.
Mm.
And I noticed people slowly drifting off. Through prayer, the Holy Spirit has showed me to remain planted in my local church with pastoral oversight,
Mm-hmm.
continuing to stay invested, attending additional Bible studies, serving, giving, and walking this out with humility, honor, and peace. It's also been encouraging to see things moving in a positive direction for them as they're now connected into a local church and receiving spiritual covering. My questions are, what pastoral wisdom would you offer for those of us in similar situations? How do we humbly raise concerns with a mentor without causing division and while keeping a peacemaker's heart? Again, a few questions here. How do we ask about their spiritual oversight without sounding nosy?
Mm-hmm.
And finally, can a discipleship relationship naturally come to an end of a season, and what should we do then? Thank you for your time and consideration. So a few different questions.
Okay, a few different questions in there. So a couple things I'd say. One is, so it sounds like you've noticed in their life that they've drifted away from having spiritual oversight and even stepped away possibly from the church, but are still teaching and pouring into other people without covering themselves. I would say, and then you talked about discerning, and have discerned some things by the Spirit. And that type of language for me gets a little bit like, sometimes we could get real critical and we call it discernment.
Sure.
So again, I don't know this person's particular situation, but I would say, like, one, always check your heart that you're not becoming critical of someone that's poured into you and loved you for a long time.
That's good.
Because it can be easy to do that because they're not doing now what you want them to do or expect them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I would say though, if it's always okay to ask somebody, if you're asking in the right spirit, who they're learning from, who's their spiritual oversight, who are they connected to.
Mm-hmm.
And
I would argue if you ask someone that and they get
defensive
or weird about that,
mm-hmm.
that would be a yellow flag.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Flag,
like,
yeah.
If I'm asking, if I'm talking to someone and they go, man, who's pouring in your life? I have no problem being like,
right.
These are people. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't make me feel insecure to be like, I have people who check me, who
right.
check me
yeah.
when I'm wrong and can correct me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think that the heart of a teacher should be a heart of a learner.
Exactly.
And so
that's great.
If I ever was asking me to mentor in my life, I should have the same heart to go, yeah, but also people are pouring into me as I'm pouring
right.
down. So yeah, if anyone has that response or feels, again, I think there's a way to do it that might
mm-hmm.
be antagonistic, but I think most people who are in a healthy context, if you ask that question, they would actually see it as a healthy question.
And I think questions are great. I would ask, why aren't you in a local church anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Did something happen?
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's a lot of like, man, there could be some different church issues or whatnot. I get that. I do think it's important though, as believers, that we're part of some sort of body, even if it's like a smaller house church, something. If you're not learning from anyone, but you're continuing to pour into other people, that's when, and you've stepped outside of like the covering of the church. That's when I would go. That's where it gets a little bit dangerous and can be cult-like, mm-hmm. or you think you're the guru. I can't find a church because I know everything and they know nothing type mm-hmm. thing. That's when you're getting into some real spiritual pride, and that can get scary. And when there's division, of course, we always want to try for unity, but when there's division, sometimes there's division, and you just don't, like, if me asking a question of who's your pastor, mm-hmm. if that causes division, then that's right. It's a weird thing to be divided over, and that's not on my end, that's on their end, and okay. Mm-hmm. And I do think too that, like, sometimes these particular relationships can be seasonal. Especially if somebody gets sour or goes south on mm-hmm. something, I'm not going to keep like going to them for spiritual wisdom if they've gone off the deep end. Like that's not safe in general, right?
Right.
So, and sometimes there are seasonal times, like I've had people, in my past that have been like a pastor to me and, or a mentor to me that I don't even know where they're at now. Mm. And not because I like pieced out. Actually, because they kind of pieced out, but so sometimes those are particular things, sure. And so sometimes it just is actually just a relational thing in general. I think sometimes we hold on to relationships too long because we've had that relationship for a long time, but it was a seasonal relationship,
yeah,
and It doesn't mean that that person has to be your mentor forever. I'd also say too that I know like there are discipleship relationships, and I think we can go for one more question. There are discipleship relationships that if the other person doesn't continue to grow, or they do get weird over time, it's better to depart that relationship than to continue to try and make it work, force to make it work. So that's what I'd say. And I'm a big fan of the local church context, always. And I think it's important to have people in our lives that are further than us in their faith, further than us in our marriages and our parenting and all of that. And to and if we ever find ourselves getting critical of them, we always have to check our heart and go, why am I judging them now? You know, all of a sudden I think I know better. Why? You know?
Right.
So
yeah, there's kind of a lot of my thoughts I have here. But I'll just kind of maybe just bullet down to one. I think, because I'm kind of going through a series and right now talking about discipleship. I think some of the stuff has gotten really weird, how we've made some of the stuff like, so I think I would argue that for most of your life, you should not, you can have mentors in your life, but it's not just only one mentor.
Yeah, for sure.
So you should have probably more than one person in your life who's mentoring into you.
Yeah.
Or, counseling you,
right.
Mentoring you, all that different stuff. And so, I think we've made some of that stuff not mean what it's supposed to mean. I think there's a difference in being a disciple of somebody, and then having mentor.
Yes.
And I don't think it's I have one mentor. I think it's you have multiple mentors.
Multiple, yeah.
And again, there might be seasons where you have more than less, and that's fine. But yeah, I think that should be stated. And then also too, again, I'll just to make this super quick point. I think that to what you were saying, I think there are different seasons, and I think that we've made a lot of these mentor things kind of be, it's like, well, I'm leaving this person, they're gonna feel bad, and it's like, if most of the mentors in my life that have been great, man, they want the best for me, and they're not holding on to me like I'm some star pupil. And,
right,
you know what
right.
I mean? It's like, hey,
sure,
I want you to go further and farther and beyond. And if in this season it's like, I'm okay. That's not with me. I'm so happy for you. I'm praying for you, and so on and so forth. And so I think if the season's coming to an end and that's coming from the Lord, you feel a conviction there. Again, hopefully that mentor is not going to be, and again, doesn't mean you treat them poorly and you be honoring to them because of the time they have placed in your life, for sure. But if it's maybe a different season where, hey, now you're planning a local church, you have some other people who are mentoring your life, your mentorship is growing and whatnot, and you're leaning on some other people more consistently. A mentor, if you're in a healthy church context, and you have a community of people who are Bible believing, who are giving you sound biblical doctrine and advice, a good mentor would see that as a win, not a loss. And so
100%. There's people that, and I think like mentorship, discipleship, right? So discipleship definitely more on the spiritual side of things. Mentorship can be like, you can have a non-Christian mentor who's like understands business practices really well, ethically, right? And that's fine. Discipleship in general. So sometimes, if in a discipleship relationship, you go to them and they tell you what you can and can't do, who you can and can't date, and all of that different stuff. Right. That's when you're getting into what they call the shepherding movement, which is actually quite big in the 70s and 80s. And so be careful of that. Discipleship or mentor relationship, they should be able to ask you questions, check you, all that different stuff. That's great. But ultimately in discipleship, you're teaching people, you're helping people learn how to think spiritually for themselves. Right. You're not telling them what to think.
Totally.
That's again, that Jesus' whole thing, asking questions, and like we talked about this in circular thought, like asking questions and helping guide and direct. But like, I'm not gonna show up on your doorstep and be like, I told you not to buy that car, but you bought that car.
Totally.
I might go, that wasn't wise because your finances suck, but whatever. And the goal is it's almost like kind of like parenting in a way. Like you want them to be your friends. Yeah. Like Sean Cannell, was like I mentored him, I discipled him, and I don't look at him anymore like, oh, little one.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
no, because he's a grown man, he's wise and like spiritually discerning, and you know, and I've asked him for advice, and he still comes to me for advice and stuff, you know, for sure, and we have that relationship, and it's respectable, but he's got some stuff he's dialed on, so I want to learn from him too, you know.
Sure.
But I'm not always like, well, remember who I am to you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. We got time for one more.
One more.
There's a lot of them here, so I'm going to pick one here.
Okay.
Man, this one's a long one, so I think I'll pick a different one. Let's do this one. Why do you think we don't see more miracles happening today? Is it a lack of faith? And if so, if it is a lack of faith, how do you suggest we increase our faith?
Okay. It's a great question. All right. So I know that we've covered at one point in time on these things where we've talked about continuationists and cessationists, right? So I'm a continuationist. I believe that the spiritual gifts and miracles, signs, and wonders still happen today.
Right.
And I think that proves out biblically because I saw it. And then Paul teaches on it. So I think a couple things. One is it is a hunger issue, is that we don't have a need for it. We've got doctors, we've got all this other stuff, right? Whereas in other countries, I've seen wild miracles take place because they don't get to just go down to the hospital and get it fixed. So I think we live in a very kind of like spiritually blind culture, and but I have seen miracles, I've seen healings, I've seen crazy stuff. I think too, though, we see more miracles than we realize. We just don't call them miracles. We call them a coincidence. We call it an abnormality or whatever it might be.
Right.
You know. So I think it comes just kind of from that standpoint as well too, of like, you get I think something like a random check in the mail for me is a financial miracle. Right.
Totally.
For others, it's like, oh, what a coincidence. I needed money and it came through. I was praying for it, and they don't really ever put it together.
Sure.
Or when you think about this, okay, so when the lepers get healed, right? Miraculous, crazy. Jesus tells them to go show themselves to the priest, because they were supposed to, like, the priest would inspect them and, you know, see that their leprosy had been gone. But there was also different things that they would do to try to treat leprosy. Different not potions, it's
remedies.
Yeah, different things like that, right? And so and if they cleared up, a lot of times that would be attributed to a healing or a miracle, right? And then but today we'd go, well, that was a treatment. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So I think sometimes, like, not to dumb down miracles, you know, but right now there's a whole major thing with the supernatural because of like Sean Bowles and Bethel. That whole thing is wild.
Right.
Data mining, where the guy goes to the meeting and he's got all this Facebook information. And so that wrecks the prophetic. And I think part of the reason why we don't see a lot of signs, wonders, and miracles any longer, at least in our culture.
Right.
And other places, like I said, you see them like crazy, because there's that desire, that need for them, is because we've also developed a real skepticism around it.
Totally.
And we have reason to, because you have people that like pretend to be prophets. You had the healing crusades that weren't real healing crusades of back in the day,
right,
where it was faked. So I think there is that part of it that gets real, like we just become real skeptical of it, even in the church and even with the desire for it, right? So that's what that would be my take, is that, and I think also too is like, why do we want to see it? Are we trying to become enamored with a miracle or a sign or a wonder? Is it, we want to see healings to be like, there's healings, or is it? Does that make sense?
Sure,
I think
absolutely.
there's kind of that in me that goes because again, I've prayed for people and they've been healed, and I've seen wild stuff, dude.
Sure.
Over in the Philippines, over in Africa, even here in the United States, words of knowledge and prophetic things, and all of it. Even stuff with cancer with my mom personally. So, but yeah, it's to what end? I think some people start to chase miracles and they chase the signs and the wonders. And that's why they go to all these conferences and these prophetic conferences and these things, is because they're always chasing this like moment or this feeling or I need a new prophetic word, or I want to see like, a leg grow out and all that. And that's great. But unto what?
Yeah, that's good.
I think we forget like Jesus. And again, I am a charismatic. I like for sure, but you see throughout that Jesus taught, and then to validify a lot of his teachings, there was a physical manifestation and a healing because of it,
right?
Or the feeding of the fire, like all these like wild stuff, right?
Totally.
It was to show I'm legit.
Yeah.
It wasn't, like I think about like wild stuff, man, where we would like if the feeding of the 5,000 a day happened, it would go around in church circles, and everyone would go to that church where the 5,000 were miraculously fed, because they'd be like, I want to see it too.
Right.
As opposed to, well, did it impact anybody's faith? Did it grow us? Did it, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So I think that's part of it, is that we've just got a really kind of weird thing around it. But I don't know.
Yeah, to me, I think the thing that we've probably done a really poor job of teaching people overall is that, we as a people have a part to play in the miracle. And there are times where Jesus, it just kind of like, you know what I mean? Just like imputes upon us and whatnot. And that definitely is, we see that in, Jesus' ministry for sure. And I think sometimes we see the goodness of God in our lives in spite of us, for sure.
Yeah.
But oftentimes in Scripture, we also see that based on people's response, their readiness, their attentiveness, their posture to Jesus, to the Lord, it does have an effect on what they see play out in their life. And I think we just haven't done a good job of teaching that. And I think, again, in human nature, we do go to extreme then of like, well, I'm gonna try to manipulate God, which isn't the point of seeing that in Scripture, right? But also there's an extreme where we want to try and make it a formula, and neither of those is again what we see in Scripture. Is that the Lord chooses, and he does it differently. Sometimes he spits in the mud. Sometimes he, you know what I mean? Sometimes he sends them all. He chooses and he does it how he wants
to do it. Yeah.
And he gets the glory. But our response, so often I love Jesus. He just asks questions. What do you want me to do for you?
Yeah.
And like, depending on, like, sometimes I look at some of the responses of people like, man, did you just miss on your miracle just because you didn't respond the right way? Or did you get a bigger miracle because of how you responded?
Yeah.
And again, I don't know the answer. Again, it's not a formula. And again, I don't want to get up on stage and say, if you just tell people, I want to tell God you want $1 million, he'll give you $1 million. I don't think that's not like, you know what I mean? That's not the lesson there.
Yeah.
But I do think in having faith and trusting that God's a good God.
Yeah.
And that he does provide for his children. He cares for his children. He heals. And if in this situation he doesn't, I still give him all the honor and the praise.
Yep.
And I think that, there's a duality there. I think, again, to kind of our earlier conversation, people don't love, and that's why we kind of sit in these camps of, it's continuationist, cessationist, or again, even in camps of, trying to make things a formula. And if you pray this prayer, and you touch this, pay for this clause, that's where that stuff gets weird, right?
Yep.
And again, making it not about the hand of God, what he does.
Yeah, but it's the heart. Yeah.
And going, God, whatever you decide, however you choose to do it, whether it's now or whether it's in eternity.
No, there's no formula, because there has to be a dependence and desperation. And it's something that we can't figure out, because once we figure it out, we don't need him anymore.
It's about us.
And I think, it becomes a lot about us. And I do think that I'm not like it's interesting, like sometimes your faith helps heal other people, and sometimes their faith is what does it. So there's not even like a full on like explanation within that. And I think honestly, a lot, like we don't see a lot of signs, wonders, and miracles, even especially in the healing thing, is because I think a lot of people actually don't want to be healed. Because once you're healed and whole, then what gives you attention? Then what gets you attention? Then what do you have? I think we become oddly dependent on the things that ail us. And Jesus, when he goes in the book of John, Gospel of John, he goes up to the man, which is interesting. There's a pool that heals people where an angel comes and stirs the water. What?
Yeah.
You know, and which is interesting because Jesus didn't come and say, this isn't real.
Right.
He just knows this is the place. And so he shows up and there was a man that was paralyzed right there. And he asked him, he goes, do you want to be healed?
Right.
Because I mean, there's that thought of like, man, if you really want it, I'm getting like my buddies to like lay me on the side of the pool.
As soon as this,
And as soon as it stirs, I'm rolling in or whatever it is, right? And I see a lot of people that there comes like, I get it, to be broken before the Lord is awesome. But if you're constantly broken, and I mean, not like, oh my gosh, I get to be in his presence, but constantly like issues and need prayer and like, man, there's a point where you have to stand up and hold out the stick and part the sea. There's things where you have to like get up and move forward in life. And I think a lot of times we get stuck because, man, I don't know if I should go here, but like there are dopamine hits so we can become addicted to being spiritual and praying for healings and stuff like that because of the dopamine hits that you hit. Like, I think it's so funny when people just continually prophesy over each other constantly. It's the same person.
Yeah.
You know, I believe the Lord does give us, like, I get prophetic words for certain people a lot. And, but it's not because I'm up in their business and know their life. Right. You know, it's just for some reason, like the Lord will use me in their lives to do that. But when it's like, we're all hanging out together, you know, and we're just always praying over each other. It's like, okay. Yeah. I mean, encourage one another. Sure. But I don't know if they needed another prophetic word. Yeah. Because they haven't done anything with the last one. So maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Read the word together or something. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry. But that's part of it. That's all of it. Yeah. It's good. If I had more time, Q&A. It's good. Yep. Hey, thanks. Hey, we appreciate you guys who sent in questions. Yeah, again, we want to do more of this stuff. So we have some questions here that we haven't got to answer that we'll dive back in. Even if there's other stuff that you're asking, I will make sure to pin the comments again in this podcast episode here on YouTube and on Spotify. I did that last week with Spotify. I didn't forget about you, Spotify. Yeah, Spotify. Apple Music. I don't know. I'm trying. All right, okay. All you 40-year-olds who listen to this on iTunes. We still got love for you. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna do some more of this. This is really great. And if there's anything in the comments that you may have more context for or clarification on, whatever the case is, we do check and read comments. We might even respond back on either our personal YouTubes or on the church YouTube or platforms, whatever. So we appreciate you guys engaging with us. This doesn't happen without you guys sending in questions. And we'll be back next weekend. We're back next week with. We'll be back in Joshua as you're teaching. And it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Joshua 3. All right. You heard it here first. Well, we'll see you next week and if I have more time.